What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We have a lot to talk about today, and it is time for change here in Winnipeg. The Jets have to change their philosophy on how they run this organization. I know that sounds crazy because, the Jets have had a lot of success over the last few years, but here we are today looking at with the Winnipeg Jets, who are, just a shell of what they were a year ago. They're a team that's not committed to the defensive side of the game. They're a team that cannot generate any type of offense, and this is a team that cannot skate, cannot keep up with most teams in the NHL, and the ones that they can, they're hanging out with the Jets too, right at the bottom of the league. This is a team that, won the President's Trophy last year, and they were flying high, one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, a team that could generate offense, and this year, complete opposite. The Sabres beat the absolute hell out of the Jets on Monday night, 5-1 win, and it was ugly. Right off rip, it was ugly. They scored 2 goals, 15 seconds, nobody defending, nobody playing with any type of structure. It looked like the pre-Rick Bowness era when Paul Maurice was, at the end of his tenure here with the Jets, and it was kind of just, really loosey-goosey, no structure, and it looked like a team that was completely disjointed. And, the Jets had a closed-door, players-only meeting. They, in the meeting it was said that, hey, we need to get back to committing to defense. We need to get back to committing to structure. That alone is not going to fix what is going on this year. There is a big talent gap from the team that they had a year ago, obviously missing Nikolai Ehlers. A lot of people were saying that, hey, we don't need that guy. Turned out the Jets did, right? Or a player of his caliber. It was never properly replaced in the offseason, and it's been a big glaring hole in this lineup since puck drop of Game 1. And then you compound that loss by replacing it with players that are over the hill. The Jets go ahead and they sign Jonathan Toews in the offseason, and the story was nice and everything, but myself and a lot of people were critical at the time of saying, if this doesn't work, this is going to look really bad for the Jets because this could be disastrous. Sure enough, Jonathan Toews has not been playing like a second-line center. He has not been playing like a third-line center either. He's found himself on the fourth line of parts of the, recent games. And, he just, bottom line, has not been good. It's a nice story. Winnipegger comes home. He battles back from being, away from the game for 2 years. Nice story, nice feel-good story to get the guy back. But he should have never been put in a situation where he would be looked to as the second-line center. And I said that from day one. I get taking the gamble there, I understand that, but you have to have an insurance policy, and at the end of the day, the Jets took a gamble, and it has not worked out. They signed other older players like Gustav Nyquist, Tanner Pearson, list goes on here. None of it really has worked for Winnipeg, and, a big reason why they are where they are is because of the offseason that Kevin Cheveldayoff had. It is a failure, bottom line. He had to sit down with Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press, and, he was just asked, are you surprised you are where you are right now? And he is legitimately surprised. He really thought this was going to work. He thought with his whole chest this was going to work and the Jets were going to be a successful team. And I love having pride in your players. I love having belief in your players. I love that. But you got to take a step back and just, be realistic with yourself, because I feel like this organization, and not just Kevin Cheveldayoff, but really everybody in this organization lives in La La Land sometimes. How do you get to the point where you really believe, looking at this roster, that, that's going to take you all the way? Connor Hellebuck can do a lot of things. He can cover up a lot of mistakes. But, this roster in front of him is just not good. The defense core is not defending. The forwards are not scoring outside of the top line. And, you just have a team that is not very good. You have a team that is slow in a league that is only getting faster. And it feels like the Jets organization is 2 to 3 steps behind, at least, some of these other teams that are really excelling right now. And why has the top line not been touched, right? I understand the line is great and, whatever, but they've tried literally every single lineup that is possible for their forward core, but they have not touched that top line. You would kind of think that, with them doing so well, you can maybe split them up, try to get, another line going. So maybe you have 2 lines that are going instead of 1, right? Anything, just try anything you can to try to get this moving. but, you know, they just will not go away from that top line. I don't know if that's a Scott O'Neill thing. I don't know if he's not allowed to touch the top line from powers above him like a Mark Chipman, Kevin Cheveldayoff. I don't know. But it is crazy that Winnipeg hasn't tried that this year. There is not a team in the NHL that would not split up a top line at some point here, especially if it's as bad, as anemic as it is in that bottom 9 forward lines, right? Like, something has to give here. I don't get it. It's super weird. A lot of people are talking about it now, and it's just a really strange situation. And, you look at the lineup and you notice right away, hey, there is not a lot of young players on this roster. And, I don't blame Brad Lambert for wanting to explore a trade and maybe thinking that he can find, a bigger role on an NHL team or play in the NHL right now even, because if you take a look at the Jets' track record, when was the last time they had a really young player, like, outside of Cole Perfetti on the roster, right? Like, I can see how he would, take a look at the last few years here in Winnipeg and say, oh, well, you know what? I don't think that there's really room for me because they keep playing these veteran players. Even just this past week, Elias Salamanca was playing really good for the Jets and, even playing top line minutes with Morrissey, top pairing minutes. He looked really good, didn't look out of place at all. And then, as soon as he showed any flashes, get him out of there, and he's scratched. And then in comes Luke Schenn, who's been absolutely awful, has done really nothing of note this season except be one of the worst defensemen I have ever seen play in the NHL, to be totally honest with you. And that's not being dramatic. He has been legitimately horrific for the Jets this year. Worst player on the team, I would say. But yeah, no, I get why Brad Lambert feels that way. The Jets didn't need to go out and sign Gustav Nyquist this offseason. Jets didn't need to go out and sign Tanner Pearson this offseason. They've been terrible. And you could have predicted that, hey, these guys are old. These guys have seen their best days. They're long past. Maybe we move on and we integrate some of the youth here, because eventually you're going to have to turn this lineup over to them. If you don't trust your youth, why are you putting so much stock in these guys in the AHL? They're not going to play there till they're 25. This isn't, 1985 anymore. You're not going to marinate in the minors for, 4 or 5 years. This isn't how the league runs anymore. The Jets are so far behind on this. And I don't blame Lambert at all for wanting to say, hey, get me out of here. I can be an NHL player somewhere else. Why would you not try to give Brad Lambert a try in the top 6? Maybe even play with Mark Scheifele, maybe play with Kyle Connor. That would go crazy, I think. I think he'd be excelling. He's got the speed. You could play him on the second line, play him with Adam Lowry and Kyle Connor. You could do all sorts of things. You could do a lot of fun things and optimize this lineup if you go ahead and just split up that top line, just tweak a few things. I think you got something here. I don't think it's a team that's necessarily going to blow the doors off of everybody, but it's a lot better than getting shellacked every single night by teams that are in the basement of the NHL. I don't get why the Jets are running it the way they are right now. Seems like, just based on what Chevy said, the team is willing to go forward with what they got and trust that it's going to turn around. But it's very, very obvious, just a little over a quarter of the way through the season, that this is not working. So things got to change if Winnipeg wants to be competitive. I don't know if I see change coming. Something has to give in Winnipeg, though. This is a very good draft, and if they continue to lose, it's really not the worst case scenario long term. I've talked about this in the video that I made this last weekend about the Jets being not a very good team this year. Obviously, Gavin McKenna is a big-time prospect. Maybe the Jets get lucky, they win the lottery, get Gavin McKenna. There's a lot of other great players in this draft. I love a lot of these prospects. But, right now, it kind of seems like the Jets are going to be picking top 10 unless something dramatic changes because, they're barely able to keep up with the Nashville Predators, right? It's been a grim year. But I've said my piece. What do you guys think about the Winnipeg Jets? Is it disaster mode? Do you think they'll turn it around? Let me know down below in the comments. But as always, guys, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.